Ladies and gentlemen, we come before you this morning with hearts open and spirits ready. Thank you for the gift of a new day, a fresh chance to rise above every fear that once held us back. Today, we refuse to bow to anxiety. We will not surrender to the whispers of doubt that say we are not enough. Fear has had its moment, but that moment ends now. Lord, we declare with boldness, fear is a liar. It paints pictures of failure, magnifies the unknown, and tries to silence the strength you placed inside us. But you did not give us a spirit of fear. You gave us power. You gave us love. You gave us a sound mind. And we stand on that truth today. Not tomorrow, not someday. We choose faith over fear. Not a passive faith, but a fierce, unshakable, mountain-moving faith that says even when we walk through the valley, we will not tremble. Even in the storm, we will not drown. Even in the fire, we will not be burned, because you are with us. You go before us. You are the anchor in chaos, the still voice in confusion, the rock beneath our feet. Fear may show up, but it has no place here. It does not have the final say. You do. And you have called us brave. You have called us chosen. You have called us more than conquerors. So we rise in that identity today, not shrinking back, not second guessing, not playing small. Our Lord, pour your peace over our minds. Let courage fill our hearts like fire. Let our steps be bold, our words be full of life, and our actions speak louder than the doubt in our ears. Every battle begins in the mind, so we speak life to our thoughts. We will not fear the future because you hold it. We will not fear failure because you redeem it. We will not fear people because you've already approved us. We breathe in your strength and exhale every lie that told us we couldn't. We shake off every chain of fear, fear of rejection, fear of loss, fear of not being enough. It ends now. We are stepping into this day with courage in our chest, purpose in our steps, and faith that moves mountains. So today we pray, not for an easy road, but for a strong back. Not for less fear, but for greater faith. Not to avoid the storm, but to walk through it with confidence, knowing you are with us. Let this be the day we stop running and start rising. Let this be the morning we choose faith, not just in words, but in action. Fear is one of the most paralyzing forces in the human experience. It whispers in our ears, magnifies our insecurities, and convinces us to shrink when we were born to stand tall. But faith, true, anchored, unshakable faith, is the answer. It doesn't just mask fear, it replaces it. It doesn't ignore the unknown, it speaks to it. It doesn't silence the voice of doubt with denial, but with truth. Faith says, I know who I am and I know who walks with me. And that knowledge changes everything. Fear thrives in uncertainty. It feeds off the questions we can't answer. What if I fail? What if I lose everything? What if I'm not good enough? And it amplifies them until we forget who's in control. It clouds our minds and blinds us to possibility. But faith, on the other hand, is rooted in certainty. Not the certainty of outcomes, but the certainty of God's presence, His promises, and His purpose. When you know that you are held, you no longer tremble. When you know that your steps are ordered, you stop pacing with anxiety. Faith is not a passive feeling. It's a deliberate choice to trust, even when everything around you tells you not to. It's standing in the middle of the storm and declaring, I will not be moved. It's looking at the mountain and saying, move, even if your voice shakes. Faith doesn't mean you won't feel fear. It means you won't be ruled by it. You can still feel the trembling in your knees, the racing of your heart, and the tightness in your chest, and still walk forward. That is the power of faith. It carries you when your flesh wants to run. So many people wait for the feeling of fear to disappear before they act. They wait to feel strong before they step out. But faith calls you to move even when your emotions are screaming no. It calls you to speak when fear tells you to stay silent. It calls you to stand when everything in you wants to fold. That's because faith is not about what you feel, it's about what you know. You know that God is faithful. You know He's never failed you. You know He didn't bring you this far to leave you now. There's something liberating about trusting a power greater than yourself. When you put your confidence in God, you realize you don't have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to see the full path. You just need to take the next step, knowing He's with you. That alone can silence fear. That alone can bring peace to your heart. Because where God is, fear cannot stay. Light and darkness do not coexist. And faith is the light that exposes every lie fear has tried to tell you. Fear says you can't. Faith says you already did. Fear says you'll fail. Faith says you'll rise again. Fear says you're alone. Faith reminds you that you've never been alone a single day in your life. Every tear you've cried, every sleepless night, every doubt, you were never alone. And when you start to believe that, fear begins to lose its grip. Some fears are loud and obvious. Fear of death, fear of failure, fear of rejection. Others are subtle. Fear of not being enough, fear of change, fear of the unknown. But all of them are defeated the same way, by truth. And the truth is, you were created with purpose. You were equipped for this moment. You are more powerful than you think, not because of who you are, but because of whose you are. Every time you choose faith, even in small ways, you take back ground that fear tried to claim. When you wake up and choose to speak life instead of worry, when you face your responsibilities instead of avoiding them, when you pray instead of panic, you are choosing faith. And with every choice, fear's voice gets quieter. This is how we overcome fear. Not by waiting for it to leave, but by walking right through it with our eyes on the one who never fails. Faith doesn't always change the situation, but it always changes you in the situation. It builds you, it strengthens you, it matures you. It teaches you to live boldly, even when the future is unclear. And that's where real power lives. Not in controlling the outcome, but in trusting the process. So today, remember this: fear cannot stay where faith stands tall. Replace every anxious thought with a word of truth. Speak over your day. Declare peace over your heart. Affirm that you are chosen, you are strong, and you are not defined by fear. You are led by faith, carried by grace, and covered in power. Fear may come knocking, but it no longer gets to come in. Your faith has already answered the door. Peace is often misunderstood. Many believe it's something that just happens when everything is calm, when the bills are paid, when the diagnosis is good, when relationships are thriving, and when life feels manageable. But real peace, lasting peace, is not born from perfect conditions. It's born from a conscious decision to anchor your heart, in something greater than your circumstances. Peace is not a passive feeling you wait to receive. It's a bold choice you make in the middle of the storm. There will always be something trying to steal your peace. Fear, confusion, pressure, deadlines, people's opinions, unexpected news. All of these things rise like waves, demanding your attention, pulling at your emotions. If peace were just a feeling, it would vanish the moment something goes wrong. But when you understand that peace is a decision, everything changes. You realize that even when the world around you is shaking, you don't have to. You realize that peace is not the absence of problems. It's the presence of God. And the awareness of that presence makes all the difference. Every day we are faced with a choice. Will we react or will we respond? Will we panic or will we pray? Will we worry or will we worship? These choices are not always easy, especially when emotions run high and pressure feels unbearable. But the power lies in our response. It lies in our ability to stop, breathe, and say, I may not be in control, but I know the one who is. That moment of surrender is where peace is born, not because the problem disappeared, but because we've placed it in the hands of someone greater. Choosing peace does not mean pretending everything is okay. It doesn't mean denying reality or avoiding your responsibilities. It means you choose not to let chaos dictate your spirit. It means that instead of drowning in worry, you rise above it by fixing your mind on what is true, what is eternal, what is unshakable. You speak to your heart and remind it of God's faithfulness, of His goodness, of His track record that has never failed you. There is a powerful promise that says, you will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are stayed on you because they trust in you. That's the secret. Peace comes from focus. Whatever captures your attention will control your emotions. If your mind is consumed with fear, peace will feel distant. But if your mind is fixed on God, on His promises, His power, and His presence, peace becomes your reality, even in chaos. Peace doesn't show up when everything gets better. It shows up when you trust that no matter how things look, you are not walking alone. It's the kind of peace that lets you sleep in the storm like Jesus did on the boat while the winds raged and the disciples panicked. He wasn't unaware of the storm. He was just aware of something greater. That same awareness is available to you today. You can choose to rest in what you know, even when everything around you is uncertain. Nasanya. You don't have to earn peace. You don't have to qualify for it. You don't have to fix everything before you receive it. Peace is a gift from God, and it is offered to you in every moment. The only question is, will you receive it? Will you slow down long enough to let it in? Will you trust enough to stop striving and start resting? Life will always present reasons to be anxious. But peace is not the absence of reasons to fear. It's the decision to trust anyway. It's the quiet confidence that says, even if the storm doesn't stop, I will not sink. It's the strength to stand when everything tells you to fall apart. That strength doesn't come from within. It comes from surrender. It comes from letting go of control and placing your faith in the one who holds the universe together. Let your peace be louder than your fear. Let it guide your thoughts, your actions, your decisions. Before you speak, choose peace. Before you respond to that text, choose peace. Before you make that big decision, choose peace. Let it become your rhythm, your atmosphere, your weapon. Peace disarms the enemy. It silences confusion. It guards your heart and mind like a shield. And when you choose peace, others notice. Your calm becomes contagious. Your stillness becomes strength. You walk into rooms carrying the presence of God, not because everything in your life is perfect, but because you've made the choice to trust Him through it all. That kind of peace changes atmospheres. It breaks tension. It opens doors. It carries influence. So make the choice daily. When the morning begins, speak peace over your day. When worry tries to creep in, speak peace over your mind. When fear starts to rise, speak peace over your heart. You are not powerless. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are equipped, empowered, and surrounded by peace that passes all understanding. Peace is your portion. Peace is your weapon. And today you have the power to choose it. Courage is often misunderstood. People think it means being fearless, standing tall with no trembling, speaking up without hesitation, or facing danger without a second thought. But real courage is rarely loud. More often it's quiet, personal, and deeply internal. It's waking up and facing another day when yesterday broke your heart. It's making that difficult phone call, starting over, or simply refusing to give up when everything in you wants to. Courage doesn't mean you feel no fear. It means you don't let fear stop you. Every single person will feel fear. It's part of being human. It comes when we step into the unknown, when we try something new, when we risk failure or rejection. Fear tries to keep us in the familiar, even when that place is filled with limitations. It tells us we're not ready, not strong enough, not qualified. But courage isn't about removing fear. It's about moving forward in spite of it. You can feel afraid and still take action. You can have doubts and still believe. You can feel uncertain and still say yes to what God is calling you to do. Courage grows when we learn to trust something bigger than ourselves. When you put your faith in God, you begin to realize that your strength is not measured by how you feel in the moment, but by what you choose to do with what you've been given. God never promised that we wouldn't face challenges. He promised that we wouldn't face them alone. And when you believe that, you begin to act with a different kind of confidence. Not arrogance, not bravado, but a quiet strength that says, I may not know the future, but I know who holds it. That kind of courage is built over time. It doesn't always come in a rush of adrenaline. Sometimes it starts with a whisper, I can do this. God is with me. Then it grows into action, a phone call, a first step, a hard decision, a necessary conversation. And with every act of obedience, with every brave decision, your courage deepens, your faith expands, your fear loses ground. Many people wait for the fear to disappear before they begin. But that's not how courage works. If you're waiting to feel ready, you'll be waiting forever. Courage doesn't show up before the moment. It shows up in the moment. It's what happens when your desire to honor God becomes stronger than your desire to stay comfortable. It's what rises when your purpose becomes bigger than your fear. You take the step even with the lump in your throat. You speak the truth even with your voice shaking. You show up even when it would be easier to stay hidden. There's a powerful shift that happens when you stop measuring your courage by your emotions and start measuring it by your decisions. Feelings are real, but they're not always true. They don't get the final say. Your identity is not found in your fear, it's found in your faith. And your faith says you were created with boldness, equipped for your purpose, and surrounded by divine strength. Fear often comes in the form of what if? What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if I lose everything? But faith responds with even if I fail, God will still be with me. Even if it doesn't go as planned, I'm still held. Even if I don't feel strong, I am still chosen, still loved, still called. That mindset is the birthplace of true courage. It's not based on outcomes. It's based on trust. When you live with this kind of courage, you stop living small. You stop settling for less than what you were created for. You start walking through doors that fear once tried to shut. You start speaking life into places where silence once reigned. You start dreaming again, creating again, leading again, not because you have it all figured out, but because you trust the one who does. You were never meant to live a life ruled by fear. You were not created to shrink back. There's something inside of you that the world needs. Your voice, your vision, your impact. And the enemy knows that. That's why fear shows up so loudly. But courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to walk in truth anyway. It's the declaration that your faith is stronger than your feelings. That your purpose is greater than your doubt. You don't need a perfect plan to begin. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to be willing. Willing to take the step. Willing to show up. Willing to trust that if God brought you to it, He'll bring you through it. Every brave act, no matter how small, matters. Every time you choose faith over fear, heaven rejoices and hell trembles. Because courage is contagious. It spreads, it strengthens. It inspires others to rise, to believe, to step out too. So even if your knees shake and your voice quivers, keep going. Even if your past tries to hold you hostage, keep going. Even if you don't feel qualified, keep going. Because courage isn't found in your perfection. It's found in your persistence. Keep choosing faith. Keep walking forward. Keep showing up. Fear may shout, but your faith can speak louder. Prayer is more than just words whispered in a quiet room or spoken over a morning routine. It is power. It is access. It is a spiritual weapon that reaches into the unseen and shifts things in the natural. Prayer is not a last resort. It is the first response of those who know where their strength truly comes from. Every time you pray, you invite divine power into your day. Every time you pray, you exchange worry for wisdom, panic for peace, and fear for strength. Prayer is the gateway to courage because it connects you to the one who is fearless. When you begin your day in prayer, you are not just saying words into the air. You are opening a conversation with the creator of the universe, the one who holds all power, all wisdom, and all authority, and he listens. He responds. He strengthens. That changes everything. You don't walk into your day alone. You don't face people, pressures, or problems with your own limited strength. Through prayer, you align yourself with heaven's perspective and receive heaven's help. Courage does not come from pretending we are strong. It comes from being honest in prayer and saying, God, I'm scared. I'm tired. I don't know what to do, but I know you are with me. That kind of raw honesty unlocks real strength. Because when we are weak, he is strong. When we run out of answers, he gives us direction. When we're overwhelmed, he calms the storm inside of us. Prayer doesn't always change what's around you right away, but it always changes what's inside. There's something powerful about starting your morning in prayer. It's like placing armor on your spirit before the battles even begin. It's your declaration that today, no matter what comes, your heart is anchored, your peace is protected, your purpose is clear. The world may throw its distractions and discouragements at you, but when you've already spent time in God's presence, you walk with a different posture. You don't react from fear, you respond from faith. You don't speak from anxiety, you speak from alignment. Some people think prayer has to be long or complicated to be effective, but true prayer is not about the length of your words, it's about the posture of your heart. It's not a performance, it's a connection. And that connection gives birth to clarity. The more time you spend in God's presence, the clearer you see yourself, your purpose, and the path ahead. Confusion fades in the light of prayer. Fear loses its grip. Doubt begins to crumble. You don't have to carry the weight of every decision and every pressure, because in prayer, you learn to release it. Courage is built in private before it is shown in public. The moments you spend in secret prayer shape how you show up in your daily life. When the pressures of life increase, it's not your willpower that carries you, it's the strength you've built in the secret place. When you've been in prayer, you walk into meetings differently. You handle stress differently. You speak with authority, not arrogance. You walk with grace, not fear. Because your strength isn't coming from you, it's flowing through you. Prayer doesn't always remove the obstacle. Sometimes it gives you the endurance to go through it. Sometimes it gives you peace in the middle of the storm, and sometimes it gives you the boldness to speak to the storm and command it to be still. Either way, prayer activates power. It's not wishful thinking, it's spiritual warfare. It's not emotional comfort, it's divine strategy. When you pray, you are not begging a distant God, you are partnering with a present Father. And that partnership produces results. The most courageous people are often the ones who pray the most. Not because they are naturally fearless, but because they constantly return to the source of their courage. They don't lean on their own understanding. They acknowledge God in all their ways. They don't carry the weight of tomorrow. They cast their cares in prayer today. They don't fight battles alone. They invite heaven's army to fight with them. And that kind of courage is unshakable. When you make prayer your lifestyle and not just your emergency plan, you'll find that peace becomes your constant companion. You won't be shaken by the things that used to rattle you. You'll speak with confidence in rooms where you used to shrink back. You'll take steps of faith you once avoided. Why? Because you've been filled before the day even begins. You've been reminded of who you are and who your God is. And once you've heard his voice, the noise of fear no longer controls you. Morning prayer sets the tone for everything else. It declares to your soul and to the world, today I choose peace over panic, purpose over pressure, and faith over fear. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to start the day in alignment. the courage you're looking for, the strength you need, the clarity you desire. It all begins in prayer. Not because prayer makes life perfect, but because it connects you to the one who is perfect. The one who leads you step by step, breath by breath, with power, love, and a sound mind. Faith is the foundation that gives us the ability to overcome fear and live with true courage. It's not just a belief in something good happening, it's the deep conviction that no matter what happens, we are anchored in something greater than ourselves. Faith is not blind. It sees more clearly than fear ever could. It sees beyond the immediate trouble and fixes its gaze on the one who holds all things together. When faith rises, fear loses its power. When you walk by faith, you are no longer at the mercy of your emotions, your circumstances, or your doubts. You move by a higher authority, guided by a deeper truth. There will always be opportunities to fear. Life is unpredictable. Challenges arise, plans fall apart, people disappoint, and unexpected news can shake even the strongest among us. Fear shouts at you with urgency and tries to paralyze your purpose. But faith whispers a greater truth, that even here, even now, you are not abandoned. Faith says you are covered, chosen, equipped, and empowered. It reminds you that the same God who brought you this far is the one who will lead you forward. Faith is not just for the easy days. It shines brightest in the hardest seasons. It is forged in the fires of uncertainty, in the nights of unanswered prayers, in the moments when all you have left is a promise. That is where real faith grows, not when everything makes sense, but when you choose to trust even when it doesn't. That trust is not weakness. It's the greatest strength you can possess, because when you live by faith, you refuse to let fear dictate your story. Faith does not deny reality. It declares a greater reality. It acknowledges the mountain but believes in the one who moves mountains. It sees the storm but knows the voice that can calm it. It feels the weight of uncertainty but stands on the certainty of God's character. Faith is not about pretending everything is fine. It's about believing that even when it's not fine, you are still firmly held by a God who never fails. Every step of faith you take weakens the grip of fear. Every time you speak life instead of fear, every time you choose hope instead of despair, every time you act in obedience, even when it's uncomfortable, you build spiritual muscle. You develop the ability to stand when others fall, to hope when others give up, to move forward when everything in you wants to retreat. Faith is not passive. It's active. It moves, it speaks, it prays. It builds, it believes. There is a reason the phrase "do not fear" appears so often in Scripture. It is not because fear is rare, but because it is common. God knows the human heart. He knows how quickly fear can rise and how easily we can be shaken. But he also knows what he has placed inside of us. He has given us his spirit. Not a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. Faith activates that spirit. It stirs up the gifts within you. It reminds you that you are not fighting for victory. You are fighting from victory. Living by faith means you move forward even when the way is unclear. You don't have to see the entire path. You just have to trust the next step. Faith doesn't always eliminate the unknown, but it gives you the courage to walk into it with confidence. Fear demands guarantees. Faith moves with God's word alone. Fear says, what if? Faith says, even if. Fear paralyzes, faith propels. When you operate in faith, you live with a different authority. You pray differently, you speak differently, you make decisions differently. You are no longer controlled by the temporary pressures around you. You are led by eternal promises within you. Fear may still knock on the door, but it no longer gets to move in. Faith becomes the dominant voice in your life. The voice that says you are more than a conqueror. That greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. That no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Faith fuels perseverance. It empowers you to keep going when others quit. It gives you the strength to get back up after a setback, to forgive when it hurts, to dream again after disappointment, to believe again after betrayal. Faith is what keeps you anchored when the winds of life try to blow you off course. It reminds you that your story is not over, that your best days are not behind you, and that your future is full of promise. You do not have to manufacture this faith on your own. It is a gift from God, and it grows as you spend time in His presence, in His Word, and in prayer. The more you feed your faith, the stronger it becomes. The more you fix your eyes on Him, the smaller your fears appear. Faith grows in the environment of trust and surrender. It flourishes when you choose to believe that God is who He says He is and will do what He said He would do. Fear may come knocking, but faith answers the door. Faith stands firm when everything else is shaken. Faith moves mountains. Faith opens doors. Faith silences lies. Faith releases miracles. When you live by faith, you don't just survive, you thrive. You don't just exist, you conquer. You don't just dream, you build. Faith is the bridge between where you are and where you're called to be. And every step you take on that bridge is a step closer to the destiny God has prepared for you. No matter where you are right now, no matter what fear you are facing, you have everything you need to rise. Faith is your anchor. Prayer is your power, and courage is already alive within you. You are not a prisoner of fear. You are a carrier of unshakable peace. You are not walking alone. Heaven walks with you. Every step you take in faith pushes fear further back and pulls your destiny closer. So stand strong, move forward. Speak boldly, pray continually, live courageously. Because the same God who called you is the one who will carry you, and in His strength you will overcome every fear and fulfill every purpose He placed inside you. This is your time to live fearless, to walk in faith, and to change the world around you with the power that lives within you. Thank you.